Hello and welcome to the second installment of the Double Play Baseball Positional Rankings. I'm Jack Smith, and in today's video, I'm going to be ranking the top 30 first basemen in Major League Baseball. To make it easier, I'm only ranking starters, so we've got one from every single team. If you want to watch Ryan's video that he did on catchers last week, I'm going to link it up here in the corner. And if you like the video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because we're going to be ranking every single position. You can check out the playlist at the end. But without further ado, let's get to first baseman number 30. Coming in as the 30th ranked starting first baseman in MLB is Jonathan Aranda of the Tampa Bay Rays. Aranda is a relative unknown at the major league level as he's only played in 32 games with the Rays so far in his career, and he didn't play all that well. He was a well below average hitter with a 74 WRC plus across his small sample. However, Aranda will absolutely be a better player in 2023 because he's too talented not to be. He jumped from single A to the majors in just 2 years, dominating at really every level, so it's only a matter of time until he figures it out in the MLB, but until he does, I have to rank him here at 30. Just above Jonathan Aranda is Spencer Torkelson of the Detroit Tigers. The former number one overall pick has had a rough start to his major league career with an OPS just over 600 and a negative WAR across 110 games so far. However, like Aranda, Torkelson is immensely talented and crushed the ball at all levels of the minor leagues. This talent should show through in 2023, but his major league track record lands him at the bottom of this year's rankings. The number 28 spot is dedicated to Jared Walsh, first baseman for the Los Angeles Angels. Walsh is really a curious case at first base because on one hand, he's been an above-average hitter at the position with a 758 OPS and a 105 WRC plus over the last 2 seasons combined. But on the other hand, he was one of the most disappointing players in MLB last year with a 78 WRC plus and a K rate over 30%. I think really Walsh is probably right in between his solid 2021 and his deplorable 2022 as a player, but he really knocked himself down a few pegs with how badly he struggled last season. I think he might take a step up in 2023, but it's hard to look past what he did last year. He comes in at number 28. Let's head out to the Bay Area and San Francisco for the 27th ranked first baseman in baseball, Wilmer Flores. Flores has had his moments in a Giants uniform, but season to season, he's been perfectly average. In 290 games for the last 2 years, Flores tallied a 741 OPS, a 107 WRC plus, and a 3 WAR. Combine average hitting stats with below average defensive value, and it's hard to move Wilmer higher up on this list despite his ability to come through in the clutch. Oh boy, it's power time. Number 26 is Patrick Wisdom of the Chicago Cubs. Wisdom is a real power threat, but also an above-average bat at the plate for the Cubs who can also move around defensively. Last year, P. Wizzy clubbed 25 home runs and has racked up a 109 WRC plus across the last 2 seasons combined. He's probably easier to strike out than almost anyone in baseball, but realistically, that's the MLB in 2023. I think the Cubs have found themselves a pretty good player in Patrick Wisdom. Coming in at number 25 is rookie first baseman Tristan Casas of the Boston Red Sox. Casas has only played 27 games at the MLB level, but showed some promising potential for a breakout 2023. The top prospect had a 766 OPS and a 120 WRC plus in that small sample, and I'm confident he can continue his success into 2023. It's hard to rank someone who's only played 27 games any higher on this list, but I really have no doubt that Casas is going to rise up come next year. I'm a big believer in his 2023, but right now he comes in at 25. At 24, I have newly acquired Pittsburgh Pirate, Ji-Man Choi. Choi is a sneaky good hitter at first base and is one of the better defenders at the position. In the last 2 years with the Rays, Choi had a 741 OPS and a 116 WRC plus while walking at an elite 14.2% rate. I think Pittsburgh made one of the more underrated moves of the offseason, signing him to a smaller deal, and I think the Rays might miss Choi in Tampa Bay. He comes in at number 24. In the 23rd spot, I have 2022 National League All-Star Garrett Cooper of the Miami Marlins. Cooper is another in a long line of these first basemen that are just strong, above-average hitters. Across 190 games since 2021, Cooper holds a 121 WRC plus and a 784 OPS. He's kind of unlike many other first basemen because he isn't the purest power hitter, but he swings it well and provides above average value at the position. For me, that's enough to move him across some of the other guys on this list that are just a little bit above average. I think Cooper's a little bit better. Maybe not going to be an all-star every year, but he deserves the 23 spot. At number 22, I have one of the incredible seasons in 2022. That's Joey Meneses of the Washington Nationals. In 56 career games so far, he boasts an incredible 930 OPS with a 156 WRC plus and hit 13 home runs in just those 56 games. Now, do I think Joey Meneses is going to have a 930 OPS across the 2023 season? No, but his season in 2022 was incredible despite the small sample size, so I kind of want to believe in him a little bit. So I've got Joey Meneses of the Washington Nationals at 22. Another curious case at the first base position comes in the number 21 spot. It's Andrew Vaughn of the Chicago White Sox. Now, Vaughn is an interesting player because he hasn't really played first base, his primary position, so far in the major leagues. Last year, because Jose Abreu was at first, the White Sox used Vaughn in the outfield, and so his hitting stats, I think, deteriorated a little bit considering he was playing a position that's not his strong suit, but he still was an above-average hitter with a 113 WRC plus last year. He hit 17 homers with a 750 OPS. Now with Abreu leaving for the Houston Astros, I think Vaughn's going to get more comfortable at first base, and we'll see him be that pure hitter that he was at the college level and throughout the minor leagues. I believe in Andrew Vaughn taking a step up this year, and he was still pretty good last year for being an outfielder. Coming in at number 20, I feel like I might be dropping him too low, but it's hard not to. We have Joey Votto of the Cincinnati Reds. Now, in 122 games the last two seasons, Votto has an 834 OPS, a 120 WRC plus, and a 2.7 WAR. But you have to look at last season, a 92 WRC plus, so he's a below average hitter last year, and a negative 0.9 WAR. Obviously, Joey Votto's been one of the best first basemen in baseball for a long time, but I hope we're not seeing the downturn of his career. He's dealt with injuries in the past couple of years, so I had to drop him a little bit down the list, but I hope he's able to surge up and he's higher in the rankings next year. Right now, got to put him at 20. Right above Joey Votto at number 19 is Seth Brown of the Oakland A's. In 261 games the last two seasons, Brown has a 751 OPS, a 112 WRC plus, and a 3.1 WAR. And last season, I think, was maybe his breakout year where he clubbed 25 home runs, had an 117 WRC plus, and a lineup that the Oakland A's put out that was absolutely terrible. I think Seth Brown is going to be one of the focal pieces of the A's this season, and that probably means he's going to get traded away at some point. But I think he has shown that he's able to be a good power hitter in a lineup where he doesn't have to be pitched to. He still found a way to have success. Seth Brown at number 19. Let's head out to Baltimore for the 18th best starting first baseman in baseball. That is Ryan Mountcastle for me. In 289 games across the last two seasons, Mountcastle has a 109 WRC plus, a 762 OPS, and last season he hit 22 home runs with a 106 WRC plus. Now, those stats aren't as good as some of the guys that are behind him on this list, but you look at the expected stats for Ryan Mountcastle, just how hard he hits the ball. I'm really a believer that he's going to have a breakout 2023. He was really harmed last year by Camden Yards pushing the left field fence further back, but I think that his expected stats and the ability that he has to just be a pure hitter, I think Ryan Mountcastle is going to prove some people wrong this year, and I think he's right there at number 18. Different kind of player at number 17, we've got one of the best power hitters at the position, Rowdy Tellez of the Milwaukee Brewers. Last year, Rowdy Tellez hit 35 home runs in a Milwaukee Brewers uniform with a 110 WRC plus, a 10.4 walk rate. He's a 3 true outcomes guy, and he's a very good power hitter at the position. I think Rowdy Tellez is right there in the middle of the pack for first baseman. I think he could have a year where he hits 40 home runs. He could also have a year where he struggles a little bit, so I think he deserves to be right here at number 17. Time for one of the most fun players in Major League Baseball, and a player that I'm going to be trying to get a lot of stock of in fantasy baseball next season. That's Vinny Pasquantino of the Kansas City Royals. Now, Pasquantino is another one of these prospects that's only played one season, but he probably had the most successful year out of any of those prospects last year. In 72 career games at the Major League level, an 833 OPS, a 137 WRC plus, and hit 10 home runs. The thing that makes me believe in Vinny Pasquantino is his ability to walk so well early on in his career, an 11.7% walk rate as a rookie in a Royals lineup where he didn't have to be pitched to. I think that's very promising, and I think he's going to continue to rise up this list. I might be conservative ranking him here at 16, but I think only playing 72 career games, it's hard to move him above some of the people that I have above him on this list, but I expect him to rise up come next year's rankings. Breaking into the top 15 is CJ Cron of the Colorado Rockies. In 292 games over the last 2 years, Cron has hit an absurd amount of home runs, 57 on the dot. He's a very good power hitter. He's a decent defender at first base, and the ability to hit home runs in a Colorado lineup where, again, he doesn't have to be pitched to is very impressive to me. An 839 OPS and a 113 WRC plus since 2021. Cron's just a good little hitter in Colorado, and he's one of the best power hitters at the position, breaking in at the number 15 spot. At number 14, we have a newcomer to the first base position. That is going to be Jake Cronenworth of the San Diego Padres. Now, playing at second base the last couple of seasons, Cronenworth has still found a way as a middle infielder to put up some great hitting numbers. He's played 310 games since 2021, and over those games, he's got a 761 OPS, a 112 WRC plus, with an 8.2 WAR. So playing it at a middle infield position, of course, makes him more valuable. But now he's going to be switching over to first base, so there's going to be less responsibility for him on the defensive side, which means I think he's going to take an even bigger step up hitting. Last year, 4.1 WAR, 17 home runs, 109 WRC WRC+. He's got a great left-handed swing, and I think he's only going to take some steps up in a fantastic San Diego Padres uniform and a fantastic lineup that I think that he's going to just skyrocket as a hitter. The 13th spot belongs to Rhys Hoskins of the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, Rhys Hoskins is a lot like CJ Cron, where he absolutely mashes home runs, but he's just more of a pure hitter than Cron is. In 263 games since 2021, he's got an .822 OPS, a 124 WRC+. He came through in the playoffs for the Phillies last year. He's never been a great defender at first, but he absolutely mashes the ball, and I was surprised to see his pure hitting stats as high as they are. Rhys Hoskins coming in at number 13. There are so many good hitters at the first base position that it feels weird to leave some of these guys out of the top 10, but at number 12, I'm going with Josh Bell, the newly acquired Cleveland Guardians first baseman. In 300 games the last 2 seasons, Bell has an .803 OPS, a 121 WRC+, and a 4 WAR. The switch-hitting first baseman last year put up a 123 WRC+, again, walks at an absolutely elite rate, and I think he's going to do some damage in a Cleveland Guardians lineup this offseason. He took a leap to go play in Cleveland with Terry Francona, Jose Ramirez, some of those other guys, Andres Jimenez, that were able to win the AL Central last year, and I think Bell is a perfect fit for Cleveland, and I think he's the 12th best first baseman in MLB. Maybe a surprise pick at number 11, I'm going Christian Walker of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, Walker is purely 2 things, a home run hitter and the best defender at the first base position. In 275 games the last 2 seasons, he has a 760 OPS, a 108 WRC+, but last year hit 36 home runs for a 122 WRC+, and since 2021, he's the leader in outs above average in the first base position with 14. The second best is 3. He is the best defender at first base, an underrated bat in the Diamondbacks lineup that could see some improvement this year, so Walker could have an even better 2023 than he had a 2021 and 2022. Starting off the top 10 is probably the least prototypical first baseman in baseball. That is Luis Arraez of the Minnesota Twins. Now, Arraez, the batting champ in the American League last year, the only person standing in between Aaron Judge and the Triple Crown, he had a 136 WRC plus in 2022, but a 795 OPS, only 8 homers. While he's a great average hitter, he just doesn't fit in with the rest of these first basemen. And for me, I want my first baseman to be able to have a lot of power, to be that 4 or 5 hitter in your lineup and provide a lot of home runs. I know it's not his fault it's not a prototypical first baseman, but for me, I can't put him any higher with the lack of power numbers and an OPS under 800. So great average hitter, but I'm going to have to keep Luis Arraez just right at the 10th spot. At number 9, one of the stalwarts at the position, Anthony Rizzo of the New York Yankees. Last year, Anthony Rizzo had a resurgence in Yankee Stadium with a 133 WRC plus, 32 home runs, a 2.4 WAR. He's got an 800 OPS in 271 games since 2021. He's always been one of the better defenders at first base. I think he's a great fit in that Yankees lineup, and he's just above Luis Arraez, some of these other guys, in the top 10 at the number 9 spot. Coming in at number 8 is Ty France of the Seattle Mariners. In 292 games over the last 2 years, France has a 793 OPS, a 128 WRC+, and a 5.5 WAR. That's one of the higher numbers at the position. He was an all-star in 2022 with a 126 WRC+. He's always got one of the higher batting averages at the position, and he's still able to hit some home runs. I think he's a great combination of hitting for average, hitting for power. He's a decent defender, and I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league. I really like Ty France as the middle of that lineup in the Seattle Mariners system. I really like Ty France. He comes in at number 8. The number 7 spot belongs to probably the biggest riser on this entire list. That's Nathaniel Lowe of the Texas Rangers. Last year, Lowe absolutely broke out in Texas, a 143 WRC+, a 302 batting average, 27 home runs, 3 WAR. Nathaniel Lowe was absolutely the most impressive first baseman last year when it comes to rising up the rankings. In 314 games the last 2 seasons, he's got an 812 OPS, 45 home runs. He's one of the better first basemen at the position, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him take another step up in 2023. Keep an eye on Nathaniel Lowe. He could continue to rise up these rankings. At number 6, newly acquired Houston Astro, Jose Abreu. Abreu, I think, was overrated a couple years ago, and now I think he's kind of underrated because people aren't talking about the season he had last year. A 138 WRC+, 3.9 WAR, still hitting over 300 and able to provide a little bit more pop. He's got a 6.6 WAR since 2021, and now he heads to an Astros lineup that's much better than the White Sox lineup. I think they're going to use him in all the right ways, and while a lot of people still think Jose Abreu is overrated, I kind of think he's underrated now, and I think he's well deserving of being the 6th ranked first baseman in the league. As we move into the top 5, here's where you have a clear tier shift. These top 5 are clearly the 5 best first basemen in baseball, and they're in a tier of their own. We'll start with number 5, Atlanta Braves, Matt Olson. Even in a down year last year for Matt Olson, he still had a 120 WRC+, 34 home runs, a 3.1 WAR. In 300 games since 2021, split between the A's and the Braves, he has an 855 OPS, a 133 WRC+, 8.2 WAR, 73 home runs. He's always been one of the better defenders at first base, a Gold Glover in his career. Matt Olson is so good, and I think he's going to have a bounce back in 2023, even though his 2022 wasn't all that bad. Still a well above average hitter, still clubbed 34 home runs. I'm a big believer in Matt Olson, but these top 5 are just something else. At number 4, one of the most consistent players in baseball, Pete Alonso of the New York Mets. In 312 games since 2021, 866 OPS, 77 home runs, and a 138 WRC+. Last year, he even rose to another level with 40 bombs and a 143 WRC+, 131 RBIs, a 4 WAR. Pete Alonso, so good. He absolutely mashes the ball. He's maybe the one player in the MLB that I would want at the plate if you need a home run at the first base position. Him and Aaron Judge are 2 guys I think you can just rely on to hit absolute tanks, and they both play in New York. I think Pete Alonso is the 4th best first baseman in baseball, and he could even continue to rise up these rankings. He's just so good. In my opinion, the 3rd best first baseman in baseball, we got to head to Canada for the Toronto Blue Jays' Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now, obviously, Vladdy had that amazing 2021 year where he was the runner-up to Shohei Ohtani in the MVP race, probably would have won MVP in any other year. And people think he had a down year in 2022, which it was down compared to his MVP season, but he was still a very good hitter. He's got a 143 WRC+ and an 891 OPS since 2021. I think that he's one of the more consistent players at the position year in, year out. He's always going to finish with great stats. He's one of the more formidable hitters in any lineup in the major leagues. I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is definitely going to bounce back this year. He's too talented not to, and he deserves the number 3 spot. It was so hard to make the decision for the top 2, who I wanted to have at 1, who I wanted to have at 2, but at the number 2 spot for first baseman, I'm going to go with 2022 National League MVP Paul Goldschmidt of the St. Louis Cardinals. What a season Goldschmidt had in 2022, a 982 OPS, 35 home runs, a 7.1 WAR, which is insane for the first base position, but I've got to put him at number 2. He's on pace to be a Hall of Famer. I'm so glad he got that MVP. He's been so good for so long in the major leagues. I love Paul Goldschmidt, but I had to put him at number 2 because at number 1, I'm going with Freddie Freeman of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, when Ryan and I did our top 25 players, these guys were neck and neck. Freddie Freeman was number 7, Goldschmidt was number 8, and like I said in that video, I think that despite Goldie's MVP season, Freeman is still the best first baseman in the major leagues. He hasn't had a WRC+ under 130 since 2012, 15.1 WAR since 2020. He's been absolutely incredible, one of the more consistent hitters in baseball, so reliable, so great. He's a decent defender. He does everything that you want to see, split between time with the Braves and now the Dodgers. Freeman, despite Paul Goldschmidt winning the MVP last year, still had an MVP caliber season in 2022. It just wasn't to the levels of Goldschmidt, but I really love Freddie Freeman. It was a very hard decision to make, but I think he's deserving of the number 1 spot. You could put anyone in the number 1 spot and I'd be fine with it, but for me, it's Freddie Freeman, although they're so neck and neck, and honestly, either way you go, it's a fine answer to me. That's going to wrap up this installment of the Double Play Baseball positional rankings. We're going to be ranking every single position in Major League Baseball, the top 30, the best starter from every single team in the MLB. Make sure you guys are sticking around for this whole series. At the end screen, we're going to have the playlist listed. We'll also have the last video we did, which in this case is going to be Ryan's catcher video that he put out last week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, please make sure to leave a like button and a comment. Let me know who I got right, who I got wrong. I want to know what you guys thought of my list down in the comment section below. And also subscribe, hit the notification bell, because we're going to be coming at you with rankings for the next couple months, pretty much all the way up until opening day. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are going down in the description to follow us on social media. But to wrap it up, I've been Jack Smith. Thank you for tuning in to Double Play Baseball. We'll see you next time.